Hi there, my name is Andy Coley and welcome to this webcast for IGD, all about the power of collaborative working. In fact, this is about the power of many. I'm really delighted to be able to spend the next 10-15 minutes working through the top 4 tips on how to harness the skills and creativity in your team, how this empowers people to help you to achieve your outcomes, either within the team or as a leader of the team. So we're going to cover why collaborative working is so important and the 4 top tips that allow you to work more collaboratively. And I'll also give you an example of a case study of something that I've worked on personally as well. So I love this quote by John C. Maxwell, that leadership is the power of one to harness the power of many. Because the outcome of this webcast is to understand how many minds are better than one, and how as leaders and members of the team, you can harness that power of many. And it may be that sometimes you've been put off that collaborative working because maybe you've been involved in an organization where it didn't go so well in the past. There were too many cooks. Or you didn't know when to stop collaborating and actually start doing. It's the time to when is it time to stop making and brainstorming the information and going into the decision-making process. Now, this is the first of 2 webcasts about this subject. I'm going to spend some time going over maybe the how and the why in this one. And then we're going to drill down to a specific strategy that works really well when it comes to collaborative working. Collaborative working is also known as joint or partnership working. Now, maybe within teams, it could be within a pair, but maybe it's actually cross-platform with different stakeholders, suppliers, customers. The power of collaborative working works in all sorts of different situations. And it can be a fixed length of time, or it can be something that extends itself out further. So really, what does collaborative working allow you to do? Well, it allows you to increase creativity. You can get much more creative when you have many brains inputting ideas, brainstorming, coming up with information. Now, of course, you actually get a lot of creativity that appears. It also allows you to become more flexible. Now, that flexibility allows you to not necessarily have one set route that you can take. There's lots of different ways of achieving the outcome. And it also increases the learning possibilities for everyone involved within that decision-making process, within the collaboration. And of course, it also enhances your relationships. You get to know each other a lot more because you've been on this journey of growth together. And it's so important when it comes to working on something that rather than being told what to do, because unconscious, we all hate being told what to do. If we're coming up with some sort of collaborative journey where we've all come up with a solution, and we all feel that we have some ownership, some stake within that. And that's really the true power of collaborative working. And I also want to bring up this quote that one drop joined by others becomes a really powerful source. You think about it, one drop of water joining another drop of water slowly gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you've been left in a puddle to kind of stagnate, that power doesn't really go anywhere. Whereas actually, this is about moving things along. You're actually getting projects moving, and you can really harness the power of the water that way. Because if water then starts to join into a trickle, it joins into that river, it joins into the sea, it has real power and force. So collaborative working also allows you to move things along with pace, to really get stuff going as well. So it's interesting about how can you overcome some of the challenges and barriers to success that you have with collaborative working. Well, tip number 1, be clear about your scope and vision. What would you like to have happen? It's really important to frame things that you'd like to have happen rather than what you wouldn't like. Because we spend so much time looking at the fact that we don't want this and we don't want that. If you start looking at what you'd like to have happen, it starts to frame a positive outcome that goes towards a goal. Also include what must be achieved from your point of view. You have ownership in this. Yeah? You are one of the people collaborating on this project. Why is it important to you? What will it do for you personally? What will it do for you professionally? So you have the ability to know why you have the buy-in for this, to get motivated for yourself. But why is it important that the team has to collaborate on this? Be open to questions as well, and understand that what they're trying to question is your point of view. They're not necessarily trying to question the reasons as to why you want to do something, but understand that when people are asking questions, they're asking questions to understand from their perspective about the project and the collaboration. And also get specific. Now, some of you may know SMART goals, the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. But really, the crux of the SMART outcome process is that if you get really specific about your outcome and your goal, then people start to know what they're heading towards. So if your outcome was, I just want to go out for a walk today, that's great. If you go, actually, I want to go out for a walk and achieve this, this, and this along my walk, then you get a little bit more specific. Then you start to be able to form an idea of the route that you might take. So get specific with your goals. And when you're sharing your route, when you're sharing a goal, avoid sharing the route on how to get there. Because if it's your route, then people naturally will start to unconsciously have a bias towards the outcome you've already shared and the route along the way that you've shared. So avoid sharing the route when you're sharing the goal and the scope and the vision. Tip number 2, allow yourself to create and facilitate open discussions. Open discussions really allow for creativity to start to flow. Because when you're open in a discussion, people have to often vocalize in order to think. I am particularly a vocalizing thinker. So the process of me talking allows me to also get my brain thinking. And other people will also need to think by maybe drawing. They might need to think by doing. So be open to the way that other people think and be open to the discussion possibilities as well. And never settle for just one idea. Yeah? Things are achievable in lots of different ways, and multiple ideas allow for stronger growth and innovation as well. And in those discussions, use some kind of facilitation or creative process. A particularly good one that I love, in fact, that's what the next webcast is about, is the Disney process. Look at things from 4 different points of view. The outside, what are the facts, figures, what do we know about from the outside of an idea or a project or a problem? Then we go into 4 different states: the dreamer state, the realist state, and the critic state. And in those 4 different processes or different hats, it's a bit like the 6 thinking hat process. In those 4 different instances, you're able to think really creatively about an idea and how you get there. So join me for the next webcast for that one. And also really look at how do you empower stakeholders. What's in it for you and what's in it for them? What's important for them about the project succeeding? What else will improve as a result? What won't they need to do when it's working at its best? By really tying in and motivating the stakeholders, empowering them, you will definitely get the best out of them. And ensure that they have an action plan that's as unambiguous as possible and fits in with your overall plan. So everybody walks away having gotten the vision and been collaborative and brainstormed. Everybody then gets empowered about what their part in that journey is. What do they need to do? We're not quite getting down into critical path analysis and all the other stuff that you can do. What is it that they need to do, and how can they start to achieve that action plan? And avoid the micromanaging. So once they start setting the goal, allow them to choose the route how to get there. We only learn by doing and getting the feedback and growing. So if you're micromanaging everybody else's part of this project as well, that's not collaboration. Yeah. So allow yourself to make sure you know what that individual person has to achieve, and they know it, and where it fits in with the bigger picture, and allow them to get on and achieve it. Also, interestingly, you may learn a different route that you may never have taken. You may learn a whole different process, a whole different set of technologies. That's a great thing about collaboration. We're all coming in with different paths, different backgrounds, different levels of knowledge and skill. So allow yourself to go, that's really interesting. I never would have thought of achieving it in that way. Yet the end result is more important than the route. And you can also learn from the other person about the route they've taken. And this really comes on to this last point, this last tip. Learn to let go. So projects are the chance to learn from other people and try a new approach. But also, if they don't necessarily reject if they reject your idea, it's not a rejection of you personally. So if you've come into the brainstorm, you think you've got this amazing idea about the project and the collaboration, you've got everybody together, and yet as a team collaboratively and collectively, they don't go down that route. It's not about you. It's just they don't feel that that idea was the best one for the outcome. So if you're the facilitator or you're the person who's managed the collaboration, let go of the ideas and put them into the pot. Think of the ideas as our ideas rather than your idea or their idea or his idea or her idea. The ideas are just going into this big melting pot collaboration. What comes out is the outcome, because leadership is really about having that mutual respect from other people and then influencing and helping other people to achieve an outcome. It's not about the individual ideas or the individual components. It's actually about putting it into this big melting pot. A quick case study, something that I've done recently, in fact I do quite frequently, is facilitate meetings. And this one was for a GP partnership meeting. And some of the problems that they had in their meetings in the past were quite often they would never get past agenda item number 1 or 2. They'd always be going around, because they'd have the meetings in the evening, and they'd sort of keep circling around, bringing up the past, and well, we haven't achieved it because of that, and we did that last time, we tried this. They weren't collaborating, they were just going over the same ground again and again. This may be familiar for some of the meetings you've been in the past. Also, they were doing it in the wrong environment. They were trying to cram in, do it at the surgery, at the time when everybody was tired and knackered in the evening. But not only that, as they weren't connecting with the vision, their why, and they were only listening to their perspective and bringing out the past all the time. So I recognized this from talking to one of the partners who was really frustrated. She knew she wanted to move the practice forward and to let go of some of the ideas and also to grow it, because I had some really fantastic individuals in there, but they weren't working collaboratively. They were just working for themselves. And GPs in particular, GPs are their own individual, if you like, businesses, and they also come together. They have a partnership and there's a hierarchy. You've got senior partners and partners, you've got locums, you've got all sorts of people in the mix within GP practice. So what do we do? So I got them, first of all, to go to a different environment, and we ran it for a whole day. I actually took a day out in order to facilitate this process. We had to book this far in advance to get this sorted out. But once they started reconnecting with their why, not only why are they involved within the practice and the partnership, but why are they doing what they're doing, the big why within patients? So what's the bigger picture that they're involved with as being a GP? That started to keep moving the project along at pace. Because reconnecting with their why, go, well, actually, it's not about the small detail, it's about the bigger picture stuff. Also, if people start getting too logical, as in the too much in the understanding, the process, the action plans, the strategy work, or people are really emotional, they keep bringing up the past, and this is how I'm feeling about this, then sometimes they start to forget that bigger picture. So we went visual, post-it notes, flick charts, up on the wall, drawing pictures of things that they wanted to achieve. When this was working at its best, it would be like, I got them to draw pictures. But by drawing pictures, I understood much more about what they wanted from their practice and the vision going forward. And then by letting go of the past, and as a facilitator of a meeting, it's really important that you allow people to be heard and also go, okay, I hear what you're saying there, and I understand that this is what you're bringing up. And also recognizing that by letting this go, we can move forward. That's be a great idea, wouldn't it? As a facilitator of meeting, you're there to keep things moving along at pace. And so once they started doing that, they could recognize that actually by letting go of that past, they're far more likely to get the vision for the future. And also because they're motivated, because we're also going into the vision, getting themselves motivating, enabling them to take control, and also recognizing that what they're doing is they're throwing in the ideas into the pot, the GP partnership as a whole collaboration, then things really started to move. And we achieved so much more in that one day than they ever would have done in 10, 20 of the old style meetings. So they felt much more invigorated, much more refreshed. They felt like they've been renewed again. And so therefore that really allowed the GP partnership to move along. And the key thing with any meeting is to trust your instincts. You will know when it's the right time to move from brainstorming mode, if you're the leader, into action mode. You will know when you had enough of the discussions. And I mean had enough in terms of we're starting to loop back around and cover the same things. Or that you've taken that action plan for that component as far as you think you can. Now it's time to move on to the next part of the project. So trust your instincts as a leader to know when it's really the right time to start to move on. And by doing that, by working collaboratively and following those tips, I really know that you can build collaboratively, whether or not you're a member of the team or you're the leader of the team. So thank you so much for listening to this short webcast. For further information about the Disney strategy and a practical guide for putting it into play, check the IGD website for the next webcast. So I've been Andy Coley, this is for IGD, and thank you for joining me today.